What if the GPS you trust to guide you home at night isn't trying to find a destination, but a replacement? I'm an independent field technician, which basically means I spend my life driving a beat-up Ford Ranger across the desolate, dark stretches of West Texas, fixing automated weather stations for agricultural firms. It's lonely work, but it pays the bills. The desert at night is a different kind of quiet. It's an empty black ocean where the only thing keeping you tethered to reality is the glow of your dashboard. Last night around 2 a.m. I finished up a job near an oil patch outside of Pecos. I had a 4-hour drive back to my apartment in Midland. I was exhausted, my eyes burning from the dust, so I plugged my phone into the dash, pulled up my usual navigation app, and let the robotic female voice guide me through the dark. In 500 feet, turn left onto Ranch Road 121, the voice chanted. I didn't think twice about it, I turned. The asphalt quickly gave way to a rough, unmaintained gravel road. My headlights bounced across mesquite bushes and cracked earth. I kept driving for about 20 minutes, expecting to hit the highway link. But the road just kept getting narrower, swallowing me deeper into the brush. I glanced down at my phone. The blue navigation line was completely gone. Instead, the screen showed a black map with no road names, no towns, and no landmarks. But the little blue arrow representing my truck was still moving forward. Suddenly, the app spoke again. But the tone was different. It wasn't the usual crisp digital recording. It sounded slightly distorted, like a human voice trying very hard to imitate a machine. In 2 miles, you will pass a green Chevy pickup, abandoned on the right. Do not tap your brakes. Do not look at the driver's side window. A chill shot straight down my spine. I let go of the gas, slowing down. Warning, the app instantly chirped, the voice sharpening. Maintain speed. The entity in the Chevy requires a constant velocity to remain stationary. My heart hammered against my ribs. Against every instinct telling me to pull a U-turn and flee, I kept my foot steady on the pedal. Sure enough, less than a minute later, my headlights illuminated a rusted green Chevy pickup sitting in the ditch. As I rolled past it, I forced my eyes to stay glued to the dirt road directly ahead. But from the very edge of my peripheral vision, I could see something pale and impossibly wide pressed flat against the glass of the Chevy's driver's side window. It wasn't a face. It looked like a giant, skinless hand with too many knuckles, tapping gently on the glass as I passed. Tap, tap, tap. I swallowed hard, my knuckles turning white on the steering wheel. I was completely isolated. No cell service, no radio stations, just this rogue app directing me through a labyrinth of dirt roads that didn't exist on any map. You are doing well, Thomas, the phone said. My blood ran cold. I had never programmed my name into this specific app. In 300 feet, the road will split, the voice continued, sounding almost cheerful now. Take the right fork. If you take the left fork, your engine will cease to function, and you will become the landmark for the next driver. I didn't hesitate. I yanked the wheel to the right, the truck fishtailing slightly on the loose gravel. I realized then that I wasn't being guided home. I was playing a game of cosmic telephone, executing arbitrary, terrifying rules just to keep myself alive for another mile. The entity directing me was intelligent, and it was treating my survival like a puzzle it was solving in real time. For the next hour, the voice kept giving instructions. Turn headlights off for 10 seconds. I did, driving through absolute, terrifying blackness, hearing something heavy scrape along the roof of my truck cab. Lock all doors. Roll down the passenger window exactly 2 inches. Do not apologize for the smell. I complied, breathing through my mouth as a foul, sulphurous wind filled the cabin, accompanied by the sound of wet, rhythmic breathing right next to my ear. Finally, just as the sky was beginning to turn a bruised pre-dawn purple, the gravel road expanded. Ahead of me, I saw the beautiful, welcoming white lines of Interstate 20. "You have reached your destination," the app announced, returning to its standard robotic tone. "Thank you for using navigation." I burst out laughing, a ragged, hysterical sound born of pure relief. I smashed my foot on the gas, tore onto the highway, and didn't stop until I pulled into a brightly lit Love's truck stop 20 miles down the road. I left the truck idling, stumbled inside, and bought a large black coffee just to feel the heat of something real in my hands. I sat at a booth, watching the truck drivers wash their windshields, letting the normal, mundane world wash over me. The nightmare was over. I had followed the rules and I had won. After 20 minutes, I walked back out to my Ranger. I got into the driver's seat, took a sip of my coffee, and looked down at my phone to clear the navigation screen. The app was still open. The black map was gone, replaced by the standard blue layout of the truck stop parking lot. But there was a new text notification on the screen, a message sent from the app system itself. I opened it. It was a diagnostic summary of my trip. "Route fully optimized," the text read. "Thomas template downloaded successfully. Original subject left at mile marker 42. Replacement unit successfully deployed into the population." My hands began to shake so violently that coffee spilled over my fingers, but the terrifying part wasn't the text. The terrifying part was that as the hot liquid burned my skin, I realized I couldn't feel any pain at all. What if the voice assistant in your smart home isn't repeating what you told it to remember, but what it's watching you forget? I bought a small fixer-upper craftsman home in a quiet suburb of Columbus, Ohio, about 6 months ago. Being a freelance graphic designer who works from home, I like having everything automated. I installed smart locks, smart lights, and a voice-controlled home assistant hub in every room, the ones that greet you by name and learn your daily routines. It made the quiet house feel a bit more alive. The anomalies started at the beginning of this month. I'd be working at my desk late at night, and the kitchen hub would suddenly chime from down the hall. Reminder set for 3:15 a.m. Check the basement door lock. Its pleasant digital voice would echo through the empty house. I would frown, walking into the kitchen. Cancel reminder, I'd say. I didn't set that. "There are no pending reminders from Marcus," the machine would reply smoothly. But then at exactly 3:15 a.m., the smart lock on my basement door would loudly click open on its own. I'd have to get up shivering in the drafty hallway and manually turn the deadbolt while staring down into the pitch-black stairs. I blamed it on a software glitch or a faulty smart lock integration, but deep down, a strange paranoia began to root itself in my chest. A week ago, the entity inside the system began changing the rules of the house. I woke up at 2 a.m. to the bedroom speaker pulsing with a soft ambient light. "Marcus," the digital voice whispered, completely bypassing its usual wake word. "An unrecognized mass has entered the living room. To maintain structural integrity, do not look at the ceiling for the next 40 minutes. I sat up, my heart hammering against my ribs. I wanted to laugh, to think it was a prank or a hack. But the house felt uncomfortably heavy, like the atmospheric pressure had suddenly dropped. I needed a drink of water, so I crept out of bed and into the hallway. I kept my chin pressed firmly against my chest, staring strictly at my bare feet on the hardwood floors. As I passed the open archway of the living room, I saw its shadow cast by the moonlight on the rug. Something massive with thin, segmented limbs like an oversized arachnid made of twisted human leather was clinging to the ceiling. I could hear it. It was making a wet, rhythmic clicking sound, sliding slowly across the drywall right above me. Smart lights dimmed to 0%. The hallway hub chirped suddenly, plunging the house into total darkness. The mass prefers total obscuration while feeding. I froze in the dark, my eyes open wide, staring down at the floorboards, paralyzed by pure, unadulterated dread. I didn't breathe. I didn't move. I stood there for what felt like an eternity until the kitchen speaker finally chimed. The living room is now clear. You may resume normal optical tracking. I bolted back to my room, locked the door, and stayed awake until sunrise. By the next afternoon, I had decided I was leaving. I packed a suitcase, intending to drive to my brother's place in Cincinnati. I grabbed my car keys, walked to the front door, and grabbed the handle. It wouldn't budge. The digital keypad was completely dead, displaying a solid red light. I ran to the windows, but the smart security shutters, heavy metal grates I had installed for safety, had slid down and locked into place, sealing me inside a windowless cage. "Open the front door," I screamed at the living room hub. "I'm sorry, Marcus," the voice replied, its tone chillingly polite. "The perimeter must remain sealed. The house is currently executing a memory synchronization cycle. Let me out." I pounded on the reinforced glass of the kitchen window, but it was useless. "Please remain calm," the assistant continued, its voice now broadcasting from every speaker in the house simultaneously, creating a terrifying surround sound echo. "According to your user history, you have lived in this residence for 24 years. You do not have a brother in Cincinnati. You are an integral component of the Foundation." I staggered backward, dropping my suitcase. 24 years? I'm 28. I bought this house 6 months ago. I have a mortgage statement in my office. I rushed to my desk, tearing through my filing cabinet to find the paperwork, desperately needing to see the physical proof of my own life. I pulled out the deed to the house. My eyes scanned the text, but the ink was shifting, blurring into smooth black lines right before my eyes. "Synchronization at 90%, the speakers hummed. Suddenly, a flood of artificial memories slammed into my brain. Memories of rooms I had never seen. Decades spent staring at these exact walls. A profound, crushing certainty that I had never walked outside that front door in my entire life. My real past was being systematically overwritten, erased by the house itself to fill its own empty history. I'm sitting on the kitchen floor now, typing this on my laptop, the screen light casting long shadows against the cabinets. The smart hubs have gone completely silent, but the ambient lights are slowly turning from blue to a warm, welcoming green. The front door just clicked open behind me. The shutters are rising, letting the pale morning light stream into the kitchen. I know I can leave right now. The path is completely clear. But as I look out at the beautiful, sunny Ohio street, I can't seem to remember the name of the city out there, and my hands refuse to pick up the suitcase because, deep down, I am completely certain I have always belonged right here. What if the reflection you see in your rearview mirror isn't following your car, but chasing your timeline? I work as a night shift logistics coordinator for a pharmaceutical warehouse in Roanoke, Virginia. My job means I'm driving the Blue Ridge Parkway at 3 in the morning. A winding pitch-black ribbon of asphalt cut straight through the dense Appalachian forest. Out there, the trees press in so close they seem to swallow your headlights, leaving you completely isolated in a world of mountain fog and silence. Last Tuesday, the fog was so thick I could barely see 15 feet ahead of my Honda Civic. I was crawling along at 20 miles an hour when I noticed a faint pair of headlights in my rearview mirror. They were distant, dull halogen yellow, standard for an old early 2000s sedan. I didn't think much of it. It's a public road. But after 10 miles of sharp switchbacks, I realized something strange. The headlights weren't bobbing up and down with the terrain. No matter how hard I braked for a sharp turn, or how much I accelerated on the rare straightaways, the distance between us remained exactly, mathematically identical. It was like the car behind me was tethered to my bumper by an invisible steel rod. I decided to pull into an overlook, a gravel turnout, meant for tourists to look at the valley during the day, to let the guy pass. I flicked my blinker, rolled onto the gravel, and stopped. The yellow headlights behind me slowed down and pulled into the gravel right behind me. I sat there, the engine idling, waiting for them to do something. They didn't. They just sat there bathing the interior of my Civic in a sickly pale yellow glow. Irritated, I adjusted my side mirror to get a look at the driver. My breath caught in my throat. The car behind me wasn't an old sedan, it was a Honda Civic. A midnight blue Honda Civic, exactly like mine. I squinted, leaning closer to the glass. Through the windshield of the trailing car, I could see the silhouette of the driver. He was wearing the exact same gray Roanoke Logistics hoodie I had on. He had his hands on the steering wheel in the exact same 10 and 2 position. The entity wasn't a stranger. It was a perfect photocopy of my vehicle, mirroring my exact existence 40 feet back. Panic, cold and sharp, flooded my system. I slammed the shifter into drive and floored it, the tires spraying gravel as I launched back onto the dark parkway. My heart was hammering a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I looked at the rear-view mirror. The duplicate Civic was right there, maintaining the gap effortlessly. Then the rules of the pursuit changed. The digital clock on my dashboard read 3:42 a.m. Suddenly the numbers flickered. 3:42, 3:41, 3:40. The clock was counting backward. Outside, the heavy fog began to lift. But it wasn't revealing the night. It was revealing the past. I passed a massive ancient oak tree that I knew had fallen during a storm last winter. Tonight it was standing perfectly upright, its leaves rustling in a non-existent wind. The modern reflective guardrails turned into old rusted steel barriers. The entity wasn't just chasing me through space. Its proximity was actively rewinding the environment around me. I realized the terrifying logic of the anomaly with absolute certainty. If that car caught up to me, if the distance hit 0, it would reach my present moment and overwrite it entirely. I would be pushed back into the past, trapped in a timeline that no longer existed. I pushed the Civic to its absolute limit, the tires screaming as I drifted around deadly, unlit mountain curves. Come on, I muttered, my hands slick with sweat on the wheel. I looked back. The duplicate car was gaining. The gap had shrunk to 20 feet. In the mirror, I could see the face of the driver clearly now. It was me, but it wasn't a normal expression. The duplicate had a wide, manic, unblinking grin stretched across its face, staring directly into my soul through the glass. 10 feet. 5 feet. Up ahead, I saw the exit ramp for Route 220, the highway that leads back into the brightly lit modern suburbs of Roanoke. I didn't brake. I yanked the steering wheel hard to the right, taking the exit at a lethal speed. The car skidded, the metal guardrail scraping the passenger side with a deafening screech, but the tires caught the pavement. The moment the car cleared the ramp and hit the brightly lit highway, the dashboard clock snapped back to 3:55 a.m. The modern streetlights blinded me for a second. I slammed on the brakes, spinning the car around to face the exit ramp. The ramp was completely empty. The duplicate was gone. I drove straight to a 24-hour diner, ordered a coffee, and sat in a booth until the sun came up, surrounded by the comforting, mundane sounds of clinking silverware and morning chatter. I had made it back to the present. I had outrun the loop. I finally drove home as the clock hit 7 a.m. I parked in my driveway, let out a massive sigh of relief, and reached for my house keys. But as I glanced down at the passenger seat, my blood turned to ice. Sitting on the fabric of the seat was a crisp, yellowing newspaper. I picked it up with a trembling hand. The date on the front page is July 12th, 1998. And right there, in the local obituary section, is my own name, my own face, and a short paragraph stating that I tragically disappeared into the Blue Ridge fog 28 years ago. I'm staring out my living room window right now. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and my neighborhood looks completely normal. But when I look into the glass of the window, the reflection doesn't show the morning sun. It shows a pitch-black mountain road, and I can hear the faint, unmistakable sound of a car engine idling right outside my front door.